Okay, so I want to go ahead and start the beginning of the poem and just kind of do a little review. Okay, so here we go. I went to turn the grass once after one who mowed it in the dew before the sun. The dew was gone that made his blade so keen before I came to view the leveled scene. I looked for him behind an aisle of trees. I listened for his whetstone on the breeze. But he had gone his way, the grass all mown, and I must be as he had been alone. As all must be, I said within my heart, whether they work together or apart. All right. So one of the things I wanted to go over a little bit was this line where he says, um, I looked for him behind an aisle of trees. I listened for his whetstone on the breeze. So I'm sure you guys have seen, um, like if you drive down the Eastern Shore, or you're driving out in the country, and there's like some farmland, you see a bunch of corn or soybeans or something. You'll see that out in the middle of the field there'll be these like clump of trees um, that when they were you know when they were leveling all the ground and taking all the trees out, they leave like this like cluster of trees. So that's what he's saying. He's saying like this field was like, there's this big field of all this hay, and there's like this cluster of trees that is there. And I guess part of the reason is to leave the trees there is like there's this little bit of shade. You can like in the middle of your work you can stop and like get in some of the shade. So uh, what what's happening here is that after this grass is all mowed down, with the scythe, the second guy, looked is really looking for this guy. He's like he goes to these Iowa trees, like where these trees are, and he's like, well, is he in here? So he's going to the trees. He's looking around the trees to see if he's in there. And he's listening for his whetstone to see if he can hear him somewhere. So the point is that the point about that is that he really has this expectation of like some companionship, and these expectations have been dashed. Okay, because the guy left. All right. So let me just write that down. The expectation. Okay. The expectations of companionship have been dashed. You can see that, right? Yeah. All right. He's really looking for him. He's obviously looking forward to seeing the guy, and his expectations of fellowship, companionship were dashed. The guy left. All right. So, um, so then he says, um, but he had gone his way, the grass all mowed. I have trouble saying that word, mowed. But he had gone his way, the grass all mowed, and I must be as he had been alone. As all must be, I said within my heart, whether they work together or apart. So, one of the things you have to realize, like one of the things that, like, let's say Frost is the second guy. Okay, we're gonna say Frost is not. We're gonna make Frost, you know, guy number two. Okay, so what Frost is saying now is um, that well, look, I didn't come out here at 4 o'clock in the morning to be with this guy. He had to be all by himself. you know, he had to work all alone. Uh, I'm coming out here after he's done all this work and, expecting him to be here to kind of like, you know, give me some feelings of fellowship and companionship and friendship, right? But he had to be alone, right? I didn't come out. So he's kind of saying, well, look, you know, he he uh he was alone, right? I didn't come out at 4 in the morning. I didn't come out at 4 a.m. to be with him. I didn't like, give him a kind of respite of his aloneness, right? So guess what? I guess I got to be alone too, right? So, you know, um, but he had gone his way, the grass all mowed, and I must be as he had been, all right, as he had been alone. Now I got to be equal here. He as he had been. Like, I don't. He's like kind of like saying, well, I don't deserve special treatment, right? I don't deserve special treatment. All right. Um, but regardless of if you say that or not, the bottom line is that there's a lack of companionship, right? Companionship has been denied, right? Um, there's a lack of companionship. It's as if companionship itself has been rejected. There's a rejection of companionship. A rejection of companionship. So it's like this the first guy saying in some sense, it wasn't worth his time to stick around and wait for him. He's moving on. He's going his way, right? I, you know, you're not really worth my time. I gotta move on, right? You're not worth my time. You're not worth my time. So what we have to kind of take seriously is that um, obviously Frost felt some connection to this guy because, like, he felt a connection, but he said now he's like admitting to himself, well, I guess there was no connection, right? So he felt a connection, but there was no connection. It was an illusion. All right. Um, Frost felt a connection to this guy, but now he must face the fact that there was no real connection. That you know he the guy really didn't feel the same way. Right. The guy took off. Didn't. All right. Now I want to I'll tell you a little story that kind of relates to this. A few years ago, it was near the end of school. Like it was like a ninth period, and the class ended, and these kids were walking out the door. And this one kid says to the other kid, "Hey man, like, um, I have to do something before I meet you at the car. I have to like go talk to this teacher for 5 minutes. So wait for me for 5 minutes. I'll be there. It won't take long." And then the second kid says, "I'm not waiting for you. No. If you're not there, if you're not there, like, when I get there, I'm leaving. Yeah. So it's like, he's like, it's like you're not. I'm not even going to wait a few minutes for you. Okay, you're not worth it to me. All right. So that's like a. It's not a very good feeling when you realize that your friend is unwilling to even wait a few minutes for you. Okay, it's you realize that you really don't matter too much to him, right? He's not really your friend. Is pretty much what you realize. There's not going to be any. There's not going to be any suffering, right? I'm not going to like. I'll have talk with you and have fun with you and all, but don't expect me to like sacrifice anything, right? Don't expect me to sacrifice. All right, so that's been like a big theme of the poem. See, um, so then Frost, as we said before, says, uh, "And I must be as he had been alone, as all must be." I said within my heart, whether they work together or apart. Okay, so um, one of the things that you have to realize about this statement here, right? As all must be, I said within my heart, whether they work together or apart, is that what Frost is doing here is he's making a big statement. See, he's because he says as all must be, all right, as all must be. So he's saying, you know, for everybody, we're everybody everywhere for all time. We're all ultimately alone. You know, that's the way it is. It's a big sweeping statement he's saying here about the totality of existence. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it so I can erase the board.